That could be quite dangerous. Whew. I love that noise. Hello, another episode, a long awaited episode. I've been extremely busy, but that's my fault, that's not your fault, so I do apologise for that. Without further ado, I'm going to be reviewing another one of my all-time favourite stoves, the SVEA 123R, and it is a beast of a stove.
Oh, yeah.
So the SVEA 123R is an incredible stove. Not only is it a little powerhouse, it looks beautiful and it sounds amazing. We'll get into that later. It's probably considered one of the original self-contained lightweight cooksets. The pan itself is the protective lid for it. There's only so much you can do with this. It literally to the top holds about 450 millilitres of water, and that's to the brim. Enough to get a brew in it. I will be setting myself the task of cooking only using this in the future. Luckily for us, it does nestle quite nicely into these pots. These are made by all sorts of companies. They're pretty much one design, and they can be bought in most outdoor shops. So it comes with its windshield. That's the burner there. Not only is it a key that changes the power, it is also a multi-tool for fixing it as well. So let's break it apart and just have a look. The windshield, it's got these lugs here that line up with these markers here, and you twist it and pull it out. That there is the stove. Like I say, absolutely beautiful. Engraved on the top, SVEA 123, made in Sweden. So here you might find that you need a funnel. However, this is where these Trangia fuel bottles come into their own. They've got this lovely little thing. You just line it up with the hole, squeeze the top, and it will go in. You see here, there's a little well, a little dip, and that is just enough to catch some fuel. There are a few videos out there that will tell you just to pour fuel all over the top to prime it. Don't do that. Do not do that. It's a massive fire risk, and it's just unnecessary. I'm just going to add a bit of fuel into the well. So you have to pull this key through, lay it on the top, get the flame going in there. What that's doing is heating up the space between the fuel and the top of the stove, which is causing pressure to build. You see it's just starting to fly at the top, and it should be, yes, like a rocket. So that boiled in 2 minutes and 28 seconds. Bearing in mind that was just tap water temperature. We are literally at sea level. Not a bad job at all. So if you want to boil water quickly, this is incredible. If you want to boil more water quickly, then buy an external pan for it. A few things to bear in mind. This key, if you leave it in there, gets hot. The whole thing gets really hot, especially the top burner here, like super hot. So another thing to be careful of, but of course it's going to get really hot because at the end of the day it's pressurized fire. Big plus point for it, it packs down really small and it boils water really quickly. About 2/3 of a mug of tea. Not amazing. Another point about it is if you're going to cook and uncook, you have to repressurize it between each ones. As you can see, it takes a little bit to get back to pressure, and this is near your tent. That could be quite dangerous. Whew. So I left that off for not even 5 minutes, so you need to get it back up to pressure. But it gets there pretty quickly. But you want to make sure it's under you want to make sure it's under pressure before you light it, or that flame is going to be big. If it's raining and you're in the vestibule of your tent, it could be a bit of a problem. You can control the temperature with this. That's on full whack, taking it down. But if you go too far the other way, it also lowers it down. And what's happening here, and it's really clever, is inside the burner there's one hole, and then underneath inside the shaft of the burner there is a pin, and it goes like that when you turn it off. And what that does is it closes the gas off, and it also pushes out any coked up bits of old fuel. It gets really hot. There's just these things you're going to want to be careful of. Also, it can be pretty unstable. You can get universal gas cylinder feet for it to make it a little bit more sturdy, and that I would recommend doing. You can also, what I like is if you've got a titanium or metal mug, you can bend them in so they're smaller, which gives it a nice base as well. So, plus points, it's beautiful, it's another tried and tested age-old design, and it's still being made now. I love that it's self-pressurizing, you don't have to pump, but the whole thing needs to get hot to make the pressure to make that flame, so it does get extremely hot, and that is another downside to it. This can be a bit of a faff, so generally if you can just leave it like that, if you leave it in there, and you will do it, it gets really hot. Like really hot. So just leaving that like that, do yourself a massive favour. Great thing about it, it looks awesome. The patina you get from it after not long of use. I've had this for a couple of years. I don't use it often, and it's just looks beautiful. It is great for cooking with. If you need to turn it off and on again, then you need to make sure that you keep that pressure, and to keep that pressure it needs to be quite full of fuel to be more efficient. There's less space to keep pressure in. You need to make sure you're not going to run out and have to refuel. That doesn't happen often. It boils fast, but it's not the most efficient stove. The Trangia, for example, boils slower, but in terms of weight of fuel carried to the amount of times you can boil the same amount of water, the Trangia will outperform. It's relatively heavy for the size. In fact, it weighs this much and this much if you're American or use Imperial, and all in all it is a fantastic stove. I will be using it more on day trips, mainly just to have it for the nostalgic sound and smell. So that is my little review of the SVEA 123R stove. Recipes coming soon, and I did promise you a giveaway at 250 subscribers. My life got really busy. Some of you out there know why, and most of you don't. I won't go into it really, but I've been busy. I'm sorry if that means I've been letting you down in terms of content, tasty recipes and things to do. And yes, I promised a 250 giveaway of a Trangia 27 with non-stick pots and pan for 250 subscribers, and I'm very near 500 subscribers now, which is mind-blowing. And it's humbling, so thank you very much for all your support so far, and I look forward to you joining. My point is, and I'm waffling, is that giveaway will be coming soon, and I'm really excited for it. I get to give someone a Trangia cookset, SVEA 123R camp stove. It's awesome, relatively expensive, but an absolute thing of beauty that does its job well, and it's probably the most fun camp stove you can ever use. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel, give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and ding the bell for notifications so I can see you next time in another episode of Off the Beaten Pot. Cheers and gone.